some other friends of mine, some other Muslims and scholars, they don't believe in that. They think that, no, there is no spanking in Islam. And then when it comes to the hadith, they say, well, they are contradictory in the meanings. So he never beat any child or any woman, yet he allowed women to be beaten or children. Now, these are contradictory things. Or maybe these were mistakes of the companions that the Prophet ﷺ did not know about. You know, hadith Asma, for example, about the Zubayr hitting her hard and this and that. But then that contradicts with the other hadith where the Prophet ﷺ, when the woman came to ask his advice, he said, oh, Muawiyah and the other Sahabi, I don't remember his name. So he said, أما معاوية فصعلوك لا مال له. Muawiyah is
Abu Sufyan.
Nabi Sufyan, he was Sa'luk, he became a king after. That's a long story, but at that time he was Sa'luk. Sa'luk means he's a beggar, basically. لا مال له. He doesn't have any money, don't marry him. And for the other guy,
Miser.
Yeah, a miser, yes, exactly. وأما the other one, فلا يضع عصاه عن عاتقه. He always uses his stick, so stay away from him, he said. Which means that the Prophet's advice, which is a heavy advice in the Sharia, it's not just a man's advice, a random person, it's the Prophet's advice. He is saying that person who is going to hit his wife is not supposed to be married. People should not accept him to marry their daughters and so forth. Then some scholars say that and some scholars say that. So this discussion is important because as we read the Quran looking for the concepts and the objectives, we have to be sensitive to some ayat in every time that are touching particular social issues here, and some hadith for that matter, and are touching issues that are serious in our time. We have statistics, Muslim and non-Muslim, even in Europe today, and especially in Europe, in fact, not even in Europe, especially in Europe. In France, I think the latest statistics was once every day or something. A French woman dies because of beating and domestic violence, basically.
I think it's 1 in 4 days.
Every 24.
4 days.
Every 4 days. Here you go. So once every 4 days, a woman dies in France because of domestic violence, Muslim and non-Muslim. That is a disaster. That means that there's a society that's gone wild. And then fiqh here has a role to play with Muslims by totally closing the door. Like, so when we are in Europe, we totally, there is no room for these kinds of things, because this is not just a culture where people are used to, pushing each other or whatever. No, this is a culture where people kill when they get aggressive. And this is not just, something with the taraf al-thawb, as some of the fuqaha said, with the sleeve or something. Or this is not about, spanking with the sleeve. This is killing people. Yes, Sheikh.
Doctor, I wanted to say, our community is a community that tries to be close to the deen. So when somebody speaks Arabic, then it is something great in the eyes. What one sees with that is with the incoming of the Arab world. And I know, unfortunately, no Egyptians, so I speak about the Egyptians in the community. I don't want to ask the doctor, وَأَصْلًا مِنَيْنِ. The problem with that is that the ordinary Egyptians would also hit their wives here in Cape Town. And they would make them believe that the Quran says that I can hit you. And if he speaks Arabic and the Quran is in Arabic, it means he knows what he's talking about.
It goes out to the source.
That's right. And even though we would come with the argument that if that would be so, then why would you find ulama in the Arab world that specialize in Quran? But what I'm trying to say is that bad behavior also, via Quran, is it also spread amongst our community because of that kind of influx. And then when you, like Sheikh Nabil says, in experience in Cairo, you experience it here as an imam in the masjid also. So you would also speak about it, and he would be the one to come and challenge you. So as soon as people hear that here is an Arabic speaking person challenging the Imam, so he must be better than what the Imam is. And this is the problems that we face as Imams also. So I have the advantage, Dr. Jasser. I would tell him, I was in Cairo for 10 years, you're talking nonsense. Get out of my sight. And so on. Because we lived in that kind of situation. You know?
Yeah. No, Jazakallah khair. This is the right response. And the right response as well should be that Arabic is not the tongue.
It's not the criteria.
It's not the race. Arabic is a tongue. Arabic is the language. So if you know the Arabic, if you are a scholar of Islam, you know Arabic. If you are a scholar of that, line of scholarship. And you can reply to him with the other verse. وَلَا تُضَارُّهُمْ. You are doing darar. Is this darar?
No, he doesn't listen to it.
If he follows his desires, then he can follow his
desires.
It's not in the name of the Quran.
No.
If he is a bad guy, that is absolutely up to him and up to the woman who wants to continue with him. But he cannot speak about the Quran like that. You see, that is the problem. So I think he should be very harsh on these kinds of guys who claim to be Arabic and all of that. Actually, Allah said, وَلَا تُضَرُّهُمْ, do not harm them. Is she harmed? Yes. Then you are doing something haram. People tell you, oh, he said, you can reply, well, the Prophet said, something with a siwak or something with a sleeve, or even though this hadith also could be interpreted. But like the fiqh has to be, let's say, black and white about this. I mean, we have an intellectual discussion here about the qira'at and so on. But, people in the masjid should not have the option for these things. It's basically haram. What you are doing is haram. And in South Africa, it's illegal. And that is also Islamic. There is law and order here, and as much as there is law and order in Egypt. And unfortunately, the Arabs apply the law and order on the noble and not the poor, unfortunately. If he is married to somebody from a royal family or somebody related to the generals of the army back in Egypt, or somebody from Al Saud or Al Nihayyan, he cannot say a word to her, not just hate her. If he hates her, they will kill him. You see, and because she is from Al Thani or Al Nihayyan, you see, but that's the problem, because Arabs unfortunately apply the law selectively to the noble and not to the poor. And he knows that. As an Arab, he would know that very well. If she's the daughter of so-and-so, he wouldn't be able to hate her. But he hates her because, she's orphan or whatever.
Can I make a ta'aliq on that?
Yes,
so,
please.
then where does it come from in the balance? And I'm now referring to Egypt. Where a daughter has maybe ran away with a man and the father kills her.
Yeah.
Where does that come from?
Well, from Jahiliyyah. From the days of
But Islam is in Egypt for how long?
It's about honor, isn't it? Family honor.
No, the Jahiliyyah is in Egypt for longer than that. Where is this? Pharaonic rule has been there for 10,000 years. I mean, they are more pharaonic than Islam.
Can I just stay on this point, because this point has been bugging me, as I've said, for many, many years. At the end of the day, whether we, and this is my big issue, right? Whether we say she's being hit with a feather, or whether she's being hit with whatever,
Okay.
it is still hitting.
True.
It is still domestic violence, no matter whether you want to sugarcoat it or not. So this is my point, Doc. At the end of the day, are we falling foul of rigidity in interpretation, number one, or number two, interpretation being moved by certain reasons, as we have just heard from the Suhuri in front, that at the end of the day it could be culture that's also pushing that interpretation. Alternatively, and I do not want to now digress, but if you look at how language in the Quran is being rigidly interpreted, is when you deal with the issue of Nabi Isa in respect of mutawaffa.
Yeah.
No way, that's my limited understanding in the Quran, does mutawaffa mean raising up. But suddenly when it comes to Nabi Isa, it is being interpreted as being raised up. Raised up, where's another story? This is just my point. So the same here with this particular issue. I believe that at the end of the day, it is being interpreted in a certain way specifically.
Prof, I think you have to acknowledge the culture. You get the very soft people of very nature in terms of, and then you get women that very hard. Catholic women are very hard. Understand? They're like Egyptian women. Then you get, what's the name, more Indian women, they're very soft, mashallah. So sometimes, you
I
know,
want to cover some more ground before we go. We have to break
Allah
another.
Ustad,
تفضل. I have to move on, inshallah, from that particular issue, but Jazakallah khair, this has been a very important discussion because it's the implication of what we are saying on the ground, like how the concepts would let's say, make our brother, inshallah, regain his his confidence in Islam and so on, that in Islam there is no harm. And harm is defined in societies according to particular standards. So if people in other societies or other traditions define harm in a particular way that you don't agree with, you don't have to agree with. You can define harm in a different way. And I gave examples much more sensitive than the issue of a feather or a sleeve. As opinions of scholars, if he gives her his back, then he harmed her. Or if he says a word about her parents, then he harmed her, etc. So we have this sensitivity in our scholarship. Our scholars were not all violent. Like some of them, or some of the fuqaha were really silly when it came to this, and allowed things that are against the other